All right, cool.
You're not sharing your screen.
Oh, I'm not. Okay, that's my problem I had last time, isn't it? Shut this one right here. Okay. All right, now we're legit. Oh, and the thing moved over there. All right. So welcome to our second official CRM call for March. I have a couple of kind of a short update this time with feature upgrades and things like that. And then after that, we can get into any questions you may have. I know we have kind of a smaller audience today, but that means you get more time. If you want to go into something deep and detailed, we can do that. So there is a new help center and guide section on the CRM dashboard. I don't know if you've seen it. We now have social media posting. It's only for 2 channels at the moment. It's Facebook and Google My Business. And then we've got some administrative things, bulk, undeletes, and audit logs, which I'll show you really quickly. So you can see here in the screenshot, I've got the start help guide up there in the top. And then if you're in a specific section, I might have gone one too many here. No, if you're in a specific section, like the calendaring and the setup areas, we'll have checklists. We don't have this for everything, but this is more of like, how to do things step by step. When you hit the start help guide though, it will highlight certain areas per page. So you'll notice on the left, we're in the dashboard. The screenshot on the right, we're in the pipeline. So you could be in a different menu item, hit the help guide, and then it'll kind of walk you through each of the elements. This probably isn't something that you guys need, but if you're onboarding a new staff member and they just need to get the lay of the land and get comfortable with things, this is really good for that, right? Or if there's a certain part of the screen you're looking at that you don't understand what it is, that's also helpful. And then finally, on the left-hand menu side, you'll see something called Help Center there as well. And that is includes kind of a wiki site. So it brings up a page that has a bunch of articles that explains different things. Now, some of the newer sections aren't filled in yet, but we're working on this constantly to kind of update it and then also add the new stuff in here. So if you see anything missing that you want added or need help with, obviously you can email us and we'll either answer you directly or use that same information to update this area. So that's new. That was added just this week, I believe. The social media planner. So under the marketing section of your menu is where you have access to the new social media planner. Like I said before, we only have 2 things that you can do right now. It's Facebook and Google My Business. This is kind of what the interface looks like once you've connected those accounts. So you've got, the number of social accounts, the total posts and posts per day you've done, the little button at the bottom there to create a new post. So if you click the create a new post button, the screen will pop up like this. And you'll just essentially looks like you're on Facebook or something, right? And so you can add pictures, graphics, videos, descriptions, tags, and then you can set it to post immediately or schedule. So this might be useful if you have an upcoming event. Maybe you're doing an online training for, potential new clients or maybe staff members or whatever the scenario is. If you're trying to broadcast something, a scheduled post is good for stuff in the future. Obviously, there are companies out here that do this stuff for you, but if you wanted to have a central place where you can do it, you'll be able to do that here. And this is the version 1, right? So we're going to add more social media channels and then more features to this as we move forward. Just know that it's there now. Probably worth just messing around with a little bit just to get the accounts connected and play with it and get used to it. I don't think it's a high demand thing, but it's as is the platform evolves, it's like a lot of these things are designed to replace something you're already paying for. So some people are paying for something like a Hootsuite or something, then you go get it in one place. Under the bulk action section, which is if you click on contacts in the menu, you'll see across the top navigation, there's a bulk actions tab. So what does that mean? Well, if you bulk import a bunch of people, or, bulk delete a bunch of people, you can go in here and restore or remove, or recover that process. You can also see if you click on the view details section, you could see who on your team did that, what date, time it was, the number of records affected, stuff like that. Bulk actions are also shown when you send out a blast email. So if let's say you put people into a single blast email or a single text campaign, you'll see those stats in here as well. If you go to the show stats section, which maybe I'll do here in a second, you can also see if there's any failures, like if it was a bad phone number or an email address or whatever, it'll show that under the show stats section. So not something you're going to use every day. Just know that it's there. The one you might want to use, especially if you have multiple people like you do, Kylie, you have quite a few folks using the system. Under the settings section, we now have audit logs. So you can see certain things that people are doing, not everything, but certain things. So if, in the scenario where like, who changed this, or where did this lead go, or what happened to this opportunity? If someone made a boo-boo, you can come in here and see that information and see which user may or may not have made that mistake. So a little more detail there. I didn't speak about this last time because most people don't use it, and I don't even have a slide for it, but we also now have invoicing in here. It's by no means ready to replace any kind of high-end software tool. It's really for people that are smaller scale and they just want to do one-time invoices or recurring invoices. Eventually, that will also integrate with things like QuickBooks Online or QuickBooks. So as it moves forward, it'll become more robust. And I find that at least in the legal space, our cruddy folks might use it at some point, but at least in the legal space, it's a little more challenging because a lot of what happens is you're doing that in your case management software, right? Because you're tracking hours and things like that, or you're charging on a per case basis. But invoicing is something that we're building and adding more and more to as well. That's literally all I have for updates this time. So the rest of this I've dedicated to Q&A. Some months we'll have more updates than not. Some of the updates I could have brought out and talked about, I didn't think were really relevant for our group. So I kind of just left them on the table. But as we move forward, I may change that. So this is your time now, Trisha, Kylie, Jackie. If you have questions or specific issues or concerns, let us know. I know, Kylie, you had an issue the other day with phone calls. Are you still having problems with outbound calls?
No, it resolved pretty quickly. I think within a couple of hours. So
for those that don't know, the backend system that handles our text and voice, call inbound and outbound is a platform called Twilio. Twilio had a network outage, intermittent outage that was affecting Kylie. That hasn't happened in the, 2.5 years or whatever we've been using it. So I finally decided to subscribe to their status update. So I get a little instant message if something goes up or down. I'm finding now that that may not be the best idea because they have a million little messages because they're worldwide. I just need to know what affects the US. But anyway, that was one thing that we're dealing with. Let me change this to here. So, this is us. We don't want that. We want the test account. I was mentioning the audit logs and stuff. So I'm going to go through this sort of live now. This is our test account. So I go into settings, audit logs, and you can see here that Robert Stanley added a tag to Bob test. And then on the bulk update side or reversal side of things, if I go into contacts, you go to bulk actions, you can see different things that have happened in here. You can show stats on those bulk actions. And you can restore. So I deleted somebody right before this call, somebody named fake name. So if you go to the restore section, I can see that this contact was removed. I can then also restore that contact. So those are the things we were talking about. And then on the social media side, the social planner. So this is what it looks like when it's not set up. So you come in here and it literally says, hey, let's connect your Google My Business and your Facebook account. Okay. So you just click on one of those and it's going to pop up a window, and then you're going to give permission for it to speak to Facebook and or Google. And it has to do those things separately versus, normally you go to the integrations section in here and you can connect those accounts. It has to connect separately because it's a different set of permissions to be able to post the content, if that makes sense. And that's pretty much it. So hit me with anything you have, ideas, concerns, questions. Nope.
I have a quick question.
Okay.
If I delete a user, will we still have the record of all the contact that they made with people after deleting them?
You should, but you may lose the, you have the conversation has their little icon with their name in the conversation section here.
Mm-hmm.
So we talk to somebody, you may lose that who it was that had that communication. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so like it would just be a question mark or something.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
I'm cool with that as long as we still know somebody.
You'll still see
With
all
us,
those
yeah.
conversations and interactions. Yep. That'll still be
Okay,
there.
good.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
I take it you had to remove somebody.
Yeah, we've made a couple of changes over the last couple months, so
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, you know what I should bring up, because I get asked this question a lot and I never refer to it in training, but most people don't know that they're like, I need to add a user or remove a user. You just go to settings, you go to my staff, and you can add, remove, or change people inside the system right here. So anytime you want to do that, just go into my staff, make the changes in there.
They can also lock them out, right?
Yeah, you could also just go in there and lock them out, change their password or whatever, and leave their account active if you want. That's probably
Okay.
what I would do. I would go in and change their password and just leave their account in there for 60 days or whatever, and then delete them.
Okay.
Yeah, so I mentioned the invoicing thing. So the payments, we have invoicing, transactions, and products and tax settings and all kinds of crazy stuff. The integration side is just for the payment platform. So just PayPal and Stripe, which that's a pretty limited option at the moment, which is why I don't have a lot of people using it, although we use Stripe internally. But that's the other thing that I mentioned.
I have a question. What is the time frame that the client will be in the opportunity section? Is there a time frame? A year after, 2, will they be removed, deleted, or that's something that we should?
They're always in here. So the only thing that changes is so at the top of the opportunity screen, you have filters, right? So if you want to see all, you'll see everything. If you want to see everything that's been won, in other words, people that have hired, you click 1. If you want to see anything lost, you click lost, right? So those are statuses. But then you also have date and time frames here. So if I delete this date range, and this is a test account, so there's not a lot of data, that will show me everything since the beginning of time. If I change my date range right to this month, which that may not work here because I don't know if I added these this month. Yeah, they've disappeared. So this is a common issue also. I'm glad you brought this up, because sometimes people come in here and I say, I can't see the people that hired us, and they have this set, one of these filters set, they have an owner, like a specific person, or they have a different pipeline, or they have a date range and didn't realize it. So they're always in here. If you don't want them in there, and this is a process discussion with you and your team, you may create yet another pipeline and move all your old stuff into, a different pipeline called PCLC old, or old leads, or whatever you want to call it. Your other option is to simply open the card and delete it.
Okay.
I wouldn't recommend doing that, because
No.
if you just do the date time filter, you're going to see what you need to see.
Okay.
That's a great question.
Now, when I go into the PCLC pipeline, it doesn't give me an option. How do if I want to remove an old client that we already closed, filed, complete their business with them, how will you add it into that PCLC pipeline?
How do I remove it or add it? Sorry, I didn't quite hear.
Add it, like add a new file.
Oh, add a new one, and they're an old client?
Yes.
Yeah, you just click the little green button here in the top. You should be able to search for them by name. So I've got Bob Test up there. So you'll see Bob Smith drops down. So if they're in your database, they'll just drop down as a contact.
Oh, I see.
And then all of this stuff should populate, their name, phone number, etc.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, that's all you got to do. And then you can add them back in.
Okay.
Now, we do have a setting that allows or disallows people to be in the pipeline more than once. So for like estate planning attorneys and stuff where they might have multiple opportunities with a single client. There is it's in the settings section. There's right here, there's a allow duplicate opportunities section. So if you want to allow, Bob Smith to be listed twice in your opportunities, then you have to allow duplicates. Typically, we don't do that unless they're a firm that has multiple practice areas and they've got a client that they're doing multiple things with.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Hit it. Gotcha. All right.
Sorry, I
How's
don't
it-
have anything specific. I'm trying, we don't use Cogent currently for much and I want to. And so I'm just trying to kind of
Absorb it.
what I
Yeah,
can before I start really digging in and trying to
for sure.
build
Yeah.
it.
And I mean, you guys are a little more advanced in terms of the stuff you guys do with Excel and all these other things too. So trying to figure out where it weaves into your current processes and technologies probably takes some time to absorb for
Right.
sure. Anytime though, anyone on this call or any of our clients want to schedule like a private 30-minute or 1 hour session with me, we can do that and do custom things. I have been doing a lot of custom work lately for attorneys that do wills and trusts and things like that. And we're building essentially intake forms with workflows and automations for requesting data from clients and stuff like that. So I know that doesn't affect y'all on this call, but it is possible to use this for intake stuff and automate a lot of the client communication, you know, on the early part of the retaining process, right? Where you haven't really done a whole lot of work. They've just agreed to hire you. And now the ball is in their court to get you the information so you can do your job. There's a lot of things we could do there to automate that. And Kylie, I'm sure you've done quite a bit of that in your own, but intake forms and stuff. So like, for example, where you have a client or a firm that does, you know, wills, trust, estate planning, business law, this, that. And then they have, maybe because they're a smaller firm, they have a couple different people answering the phone through a service like Lex Reception or something. What I've done, if I could show you this example. What we did is we created a landing page inside of Cogent itself with all the forms. So we literally give this URL to either the person answering the phone or the receptionist or whatever. And so their process is they do a client intake sheet number 1. When that form is filled, it sends data to the attorney for his call. And then the attorney fills out the client intake form number 2. And that client intake form number 2 lists off the other intake forms that he needs for that client, which is there's a total of 6 that we've created. And so those forms will automatically go out to those individuals. If once the attorney fills out form number 2, which, you know, lists the different intakes that they need, we can automatically send that information to the client. But if they don't, let's say they call up because they're an older person, like, I don't want to use the internet or whatever, I just want to call you and tell you this stuff. Then their team members can come here and click on any one of these forms and complete the forms over the phone. Some of them they can't, because I think like the business one, for example, we're uploading files. Oh, I did multi-step, so you can't see it. We're uploading files in the process as well. So some of the things requires a client to actually submit things, but I try to put everything in one spot for everybody to find. But these are all directly built inside of Cogent, and they all have automations connected to each other with notifications and tasks and notes and all kinds of stuff that happens. So we don't do this a lot because most law firms already have this process in place and they're happy with their current process, but just know that you could do this. And we built that, like Kylie, for your information, we built out those pages inside of the sites and funnels piece. So sites and funnels, we just built little web pages and then put all the forms directly linked inside those web pages.
You knew I was thinking about how to do that myself.
Yeah, well, yeah, if you have a workflow, you know, maybe you have a little flow chart or something, and then the forms that you want to use, we could help you build that out. Because
Yeah.
I'm happy to invest my time to do that, because, you know, we can leverage that process to be used by other firms if you're okay with it. And then
Yeah,
it's useful for others.
I think that could be helpful. Our thing is just our clients aren't going to fill that out. We usually have to call them and get the information anyway. So
Mm-hmm. But certain paperwork you got to get though, don't you?
yeah,
Like W-2s and tax forms and all that fun stuff.
yeah.
Sorry, I
So-
missed it because I had to answer a phone call. What awesome idea did Kylie have?
We were just talking about how we've got all these forms and workflows for intake that we've built out.
Yeah.
She's saying she'd like to do something like that, but usually they have to do it themselves because the clients won't actually fill out anything, hence the life of a
Yep.
bankruptcy attorney. But what I was asking is like, how do you get the paperwork from them? Like their, documents, their 1099s and W-2s and tax forms and things.
Over a very long period of time.
We still have some people that will drop them off at the office or mail them, and then I have to scan and save everything.
Put them in there. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. A lot of people email, like we have like a general firm email address that a lot of clients send stuff to.
We're
Some of them-
using, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, and then some of them text us pictures too. That's real fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's not a very useful method, is it?
No.
'Cause you need a PDF.
Or my
something.
favorite is screenshots from their phone. I'm like, nope. Trustee does not want every page of your bank statement transaction history on screenshots from your phone. It's not going to happen.
Yeah. Which you can't even read hardly. Probably.
Yeah. We also use Easy Docs, which is kind of clunky and slow.
Mm.
And we recently learned that and I believe Sean Stone's office, because Sean talked Joe into it, are one of, I believe, 11 American companies using Easy Docs. It's an Australian company.
Oh,
And they recently contacted Joe and said, you're one of our 11 American customers. We're opening an American arm of the company. Would you help us to figure out like what our American clients prefer and, want set up and what you need? But I don't know how quickly that's going to turn into something real. And our clients have some difficulty with it. And I know Sean's do too.
is that mostly a document collection tool?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And so you create a template you create a list for them basically of everything that you need. And then the concept of it is great. And then it sends the list to them. It sends them reminders. You can set up reminder sequences to say, hey, get us your documents.
Yeah.
And then as they submit things, you can accept or reject them and reject them with a reason. But a lot of it stems from all they see when they get the email about a rejection is rejection. They don't read what the reasoning is. And so then they're immediately calling and saying, why was this rejected? Well, there's a reason, like there's a reason typed in. So it's stuff like that that's a little frustrating. And if they get locked out, if they forget their password or they get locked out of their account, we can't fix it for them. Like they either we or they have to contact tech support and have tech support unlock it.
Mm.
And it's Australia. And so anytime we're contacting them, it's
They're
the
asleep.
middle of the night there.
Yeah. They're in
So
bed.
it's not super great. Yeah. So I would be interested in a better solution than that.
I'll look at the Easy Docs thing and see what we could maybe manufacture or bolt on to.
Mhm.
If that would be
And
easier.
I know that we've had a couple of clients, and I know Sean's office has had a number of clients have problems with just getting error messages and that they can't get logged in, or when they get logged in, it won't let them upload stuff. And that's just been recent.
Mm.
So there's a lot of little bugs to it that we have to kind of work around.
What did you guys use prior to Easy Docs for document collection?
Me,
You? Okay.
because we did everything in person.
Right. That
And
was
so we had an actual documents appointment that the client would come into the office with their stack of paper, and I would sit with them and go through everything and scan it all in. And in some ways that was better and more efficient because I could easily weed through, oh, we don't need this, we don't need this, we don't need this, and let them know what we did need. And sometimes in person, that's more easily understood than by email or by phone call, or, like it's just because I could make the checklist and sit down with them and go through it and have them ask any questions.
Right.
But yeah, so now then when COVID hit and we had to do everything remotely and virtually, I think it was right before COVID that Joe said, hey, this Easy Docs thing could be great, because then people that don't want, like are good at technology can just upload their stuff and it won't be that big of a deal. But
Right.
half of the time people get in there and they don't really feel confident using it, and they end up just emailing everything to us anyway.
Makes sense.
So.
Yeah, I had a
It's a-
conversation with Lapuka about building an app for your phone where they could scan it from their phone into a PDF that then only emails it to the firm, doesn't do anything else. It just
Yeah.
scans it to a PDF and emails it to the firm.
Yeah, he's been wanting something like that for a long time.
Yeah.
And that would be
Cool.
good, but also the problem there is that people don't know how to take a picture of a document.
Yeah, I know they do it at a funny angle or
Yeah.
whatever.
Or they
So-
only get like, they like close up on the top half of it, and it's like, well, I need to see the bottom half
Mhm.
too.
Right.
So
Yeah.
it's like, there's
Or their
not,
cats in the background.
right? There's not,
Now it'd be better
I
if they
don't
could
know
get the
that there's
cat to
a-
hold up the document.
what?
It'd be better if they could get the cat to hold the
Right? At least
document
that
when they
would be
scan.
entertaining. I don't know that there's ever going to be a perfect fix for just like dumb. That's terrible, but for not having the presence of mind
Yeah.
to like, oh, I'm taking an image of a document that people need to look at. I should probably
Right.
make sure it's not blurry or that I'm showing the whole page or all of those things. No, they
Yeah.
just like put on a blindfold and like point their camera and take the photo and send it. And
Yeah,
that
or
ends
it's
up
too
being more work
dark
on
or
our
whatever. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You almost need to have,
We need a smart camera. We need we need an app that can tell them, no, your cat's in the background, retake.
what is Siri's voice or whatever, or
Right.
the little voice comes up. I'm sorry. Your cat's in the background. Try again.
I'm sorry, they're going to need the entire page, not the
Right.
first line.
Yeah, exactly. That might work, except if they're really dumb. They're like, what do you mean?
Yeah. But this
Yeah.
is like an ongoing issue that we talk about in our office managers meeting on the regular, is how to streamline documents, how to get around the kind of lack of common sense.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, and I think sometimes if you have people that are money stressed, they have 10,000 things going on, right?
Right,
Creditors calling them and stuff. So they have other things on their mind, but
exactly.
well, they need kind of a Amazon Prime type deal or something where the dude just shows up at the house and says, give me your documents.
Right. And that's
Yeah.
kind of what I used to do. Like they would come to me, they'd bring everything and I'd do it all. But I spent, I'd say 10 hours a week in those appointments, when I couldn't do other things. And some of
Right.
it was them being like, oh, my title, oh, it's out in my car, let me go get it. And then they'd go and get it and then come back and I'm just sitting there twiddling my thumbs while they're doing it. So
Right. Not a very efficient process.
yeah,
no.
there doesn't seem to be a perfect fix for it. I'm okay with that. I don't think we need a perfect fix. We need a fix that makes it just as easy as possible for all parties involved. But there's
Yeah.
always going to be human error in the
So
system.
the Easy Docs thing though, are they literally just uploading it on via their computer?
Yeah,
That's all.
it's kind of, it's like a high-end FTP kind
Okay.
of situation.
With sort of checklists attached to it.
Right, because we can make a custom checklist for them and then they upload things to that specific item.
Right.
And so it stays, and then when we downloaded it kind of keeps that naming convention to it. So if we've named the thing 2017 Toyota Avalon title, and they upload that there, when we download it, we don't have to change the file name.
It renames the file to whatever you
Right.
named the thing. Okay.
Yeah. And so that's a benefit.
We were using something similar with My Case Info that
Mhm.
integrates with Best Case, but like nobody knew how to use it. Like it was like they filled out half of it or only submitted 2 or 3 documents and I think they were done. And
Mhm.
like, I don't know, the
And
email.
you spend the time setting it up. Like Liz, it probably takes 15, 20 minutes for her to set the whole list up for each person, because we do personalize it. We don't just say car title, we say this specific car, its title. And so then if they then never log into it or don't go into it and don't like it or don't feel comfortable with it, then she's wasted that time and we've wasted that money creating them that account and they don't ever use it. And then they just end up emailing everything anyway.
There's got to be a way.
I mean, it would be nice if there were a way.
Or at least a way to make it a little less confusing for them.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I think
Mm.
email has wound up being our most used way,
yeah.
but some people still send like an email for each page of a document.
Yep.
And
They're all out of order. And you got to kind of figure out what order they go in.
yeah,
Yeah. So, Trisha, that like the reason I asked you when you send the list to put your firm name in there is we're essentially, I've got and you know this because you use Trello. We have a Trello email address now that's attached to that lists email. So the lists at Cogent Marketing go to everybody that needs to see it, but it also gets CC'd to Trello.
Oh,
And so
okay.
it goes into a Trello card that automatically gets assigned to the person who's supposed to load the lists.
Oh, nice.
So instead of Linda or somebody else getting an email, downloading the file, then uploading it into the project software, it skips that step.
No, that's
So
awesome.
if your clients didn't email you 20 emails with each page, you could use a process like that probably. But
True. It's very true. I mean, we
Yeah.
probably still could, but yeah. And right now our system with email is okay because it's a specific email address, it's documents at,
right.
and Liz and I both have control over it. So if she's out for, it's her main thing, but if she's out for a week or something, then I can take it over. But, and people just email stuff to that. And so she goes through it daily and kind of categorizes people and puts them into her personal queue, her task list.
Right.
And deals with it on a case by
It's
case basis.
still kind of, even though it's email, it's still kind of manual if you got to go through all that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we got off track a little bit. If there's any way I can automate that stuff, I will tell you. I'll work on it. Like the closest I think I've come now is intake forms. That's different. There are clients that are filling this stuff out, but they're not the same number of documents needed, not the same type of client, right? Totally different environment for the estate planning and business stuff. But
so this is stuff that the attorney can send to the client to fill out prior to a meeting, or to say, based on our meeting, I need you to fill out this paperwork. Is that what these are?
yeah. So this is because you were on the phone earlier. This is a client intake sheet number 1 is what the paralegal or the person answering the phone fills out. So
and so when they fill it out, does it then get dumped into Cogent? That
gets dumped into Cogent, and then it sends a link to this form number 2 to the attorney for his call, because they'll take them on, and then when they go to their call, the attorney then fills this form out, and we have it set up so that it sends the attorney a link that pre-populates all the data from the first form into the second form. So their name, et cetera, et cetera. So he knows he only has to fill out the empty spots. And one of those major things is which of these other 6 intake sheets do they need, right?
Right.
And so they could get multiple of these or just one. And there's a whole process where it gets handed off in tasks inside the system for different people. Oh, is that? I was Jackie. So what happens is after form 1's filled out, a task gets assigned to attorney to complete this form along with their appointment date and the client details and a link to this form. They click the form, it pre-populates everything. If he clicks estate planning single or estate planning married, that then sends that form, a link to that form to the client, the prospect, and also reassigns it to the paralegal that's associated with that or attorney that's associated with that process. So some of these processes have to be assigned to attorney, even though, but they have to go to the client first to complete. So we have different workflows that we've built out. I'll show it to you real quick.
If it's okay, if Joe can, I'm going to have him come in here and look at this, because this is something we already do, but like we have an intake form that he does, but it's just a fillable PDF.
Yeah, that's basically how these act, right? It's like a
But if it's
PDF.
dumping it directly into Cogent, and then we can use that. Okay, come here, because this is kind of exciting.
So
if you can go back to
wait,
that.
Ali, will you stop the recording, please, though? 'cause I don't want
Sorry.
this to- That's
It's
okay.
food hygiene for today. So.
Oh, wait, were you recording now? Is that for our sign off?
I was trying to get to blow my mind.
Oh, well, she can say it right now. Ready, go again.
No, you've sufficiently blown my mind for the day, Robert.
There, that was great. You even had a little more emphasis, maybe a little acting class in there. Cool, man. So we'll end it now. So there may have been some confusion when because this is we're still figuring out our own process to announce these things, but this is literally going to be the exact same time on the third Thursday of the month.
Fourth.
Oh, see, I don't even know my own time. Fourth Thursday. I keep saying there was fourth. So basically the last week of the month, unless we're a weird month, but yeah. So it'll be the same link, same everything that you got in the Zoom. So just kind of know that. What I might do is send out a calendar invite. This is the recurring meeting, and just put all that stuff in there and invite you guys if that works best.
Yeah, it's a great idea.
Okay, I'll do that. I was thinking about that today. I was like, why didn't I do that to begin with? So we'll do that as well, along with the text and email announcements.
Sweet.
Cool. Thank you all for coming.
Yeah,
We'll
thank
talk to
you.
again next
Thank
time.
you.
All right.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
Thank you, Jackie.